Hello and welcome to the Luxury People podcast presented by the World Luxury Chamber of Commerce. My name is António Paraíso. I am your host in this series where we engage in insightful conversations with leading figures across the luxury sector. Each episode offers in-depth discussions featuring valuable insights, compelling stories, and forward-looking ideas that influence the luxury industry. Today, I am pleased to speak with Philippe Mihailovich, I guess I pronounced it right, founder of HAUTeLUXE, lead author of Haute Luxury Branding, professor of luxury brand management, and WLCC Honorary Board Member. And we will discuss not only his book, Haute Luxury Branding, but also the recurring challenges luxury leaders face, how ethical sourcing can coexist with exclusivity, and much more. So welcome, Philippe Mihailovich. My pleasure to debate with you today.
Thank you very much, Antonio, and I'm really happy to meet you. I've been watching some of your podcasts, so I'm very honored to be with you.
My pleasure, my pleasure. Philippe, you differentiate between luxury and haute luxury. Haute, for those who are listening and not reading, I mean haute, the French word for high, right? So you differentiate between luxury and haute luxury in your work. So what are the defining characteristics that elevate a brand into the haute luxury category?
Yeah, that's a great question. Antonio, it's funny because in America, it's true, we see this elevate, that they're coming up from premium, trying to get up to luxury. In fact, in French, it's exactly the opposite. You don't elevate up. There are few brands. It's like pushing water uphill. You're defining gravity. So there are very few brands that have done that. We see it as a top-down thing. And if you think of the birth of haute couture, that's why I play with that word a lot in English, because they know haute couture, which they say hot couture, whatever. It actually, it means high, tailoring high, but it actually implies being high over your client, high above everything. It means you're a master, an expert at something. The master, like in art, the master makes a masterpiece.
Exactly.
And becomes an expert at something and then can go down. So you're an expert perfumer, or you're an expert designer, an expert craftsperson, and then you go down. But you start off like a god in your heaven, coming down towards and making things affordable for others who want to participate or be part of your world. So the luxury really begins not with a lot of money, but with making this masterpiece, high-end product that is beyond the sky's the limit. It's the greatest thing that a human being can make, is really what we look at.
Interesting concept. Yes. Not all luxury is alike, and there are different layers.
Yeah, so we are seeing Tiffany's going up now, that LVMH are pushing them up to high jewelry. Because Tiffany's was always more just a mass market brand, known for silverware, known for engagement rings, but not known for high jewelry. So now that they are part of LVMH, they're putting a big emphasis on the big yellow diamonds, on high jewelry, on the best designers they had in the past, like Jean Schlumberger. And they're even building a maison, as we call it, in Paris, right where haute couture was born, at number 7 Rue de la Paix. They're taking the whole building, is becoming with a craft studio on top and design studio, and they're elevating the brand up to the level of a Cartier. But while Cartier was making crowns for the King of England, Queen of England, Tiffany's were making engagement rings. It's not quite the same. And they started off as a shop selling stationery. It's coming from a very different place.
Exactly. Now, Philip, in your book, you also mentioned that HAUTeLUXE pyramid provides a strategic framework for understanding high luxury brands. Now, can you briefly explain the key pillars of this model and how it guides brand building? What is this pyramid about?
Okay, well, the pyramid is exactly a little bit what I am pointing out all the time. we think in terms of pyramids, maybe because we used to have kings before we cut the heads off. Uh, we start at the top and we come down. So it goes from a high atelier or haute atelier,
Yes.
and then evolves from, which is more a B2B thing. It's very private. No one walks into the atelier of a jewelry studio. It's very private, and the stones are there. It's B2B.
Yeah, by appointment only, normally.
Yeah, or they may have a showroom, or they may just show, such as during Fashion Week at the Ritz Hotel in Paris, but they don't have a place that you can visit. So they evolve. At some point, they evolve to the level what we call a maison, a house, which
Yes.
means you can visit. It's a retail. You can actually come in, and so then it becomes B2C. And a maison then means it's retail as well as having in-house talent. The studio and the craftsman, the creator, everything is in the house. Nothing is contracted out. It's very far from brand. They take full responsibility of the entire process from the beginning to the end, every step of the process. If something goes wrong, they can't blame someone else. It's themselves. So there's a huge difference. To brand in France is seen as industrially produced. So it's almost an insult to call Hermès, for example, a brand. It's not. They are a maison. They make everything crafted in the house.
Exactly.
Uh,
Exactly.
so, and we do the same with restaurants here. If a restaurant says fait maison outside, it means that they have sourced directly the meat, the cheese, the wine, and it hasn't been bought frozen and cooked in the restaurant. It's against the
Exactly.
law to call it fait maison if they've bought in pre-made food.
Very interesting insight and point, the difference between maison and brand. Indeed. Thank you. How do you see the difference between French approach to luxury versus the American model of approaching branding?
Well, I think because we have this little pyramid, it can also be a big limitation. For example, if you become a great perfumer, the world's
Yeah.
best perfumer, and then you decide, hey, I feel like doing wedding dresses. Well, there's not much chance that people will buy a dress from you. But if you start off doing fashion and then you do perfume, maybe they will. But there's that
Exactly.
limitation of being an expert because you paint yourself into a corner and then you can't really move from your expert corner. As mine, originally I was in the beauty, always in the beauty field, and the branding allowed me to actually step out and work on hotels or work on other fields as I choose, not to be painted in the corner. As a designer can move into different areas. The American model, I think, is more always, we normally in the academic world look towards Ralph Lauren, who said, aha, if I put my name on the door like Christian Dior or 𝘓𝘓𝘶𝘕, or I
Yes.
look like a designer, people will assume I'm a designer. And I just have to have a nice building and retail with everything clean and shiny and be next door to Dior. I will be seen as one of those. And that's okay. I don't need a speciality. His speciality is, in fact, the storytelling of polo lifestyle. And within that lifestyle, well, then you're free to do menswear, women's wear, kids wear, perfumes, restaurant, whatever you feel like doing.
Yeah.
But it's a
Basically
flatter
anything.
model. It's a flat model. It's a satellite model, but flat. It doesn't have the hierarchy in it. But if that company were to be acquired by LVMH, I think I'll put down right now, I guarantee LVMH will push the brand up into haute couture and put a real designer in the house and a real studio in the house, just like they're doing with Tiffany's.
Yeah, indeed, indeed. Many brands operate today in the mass luxury or hybrid luxury space. And what are the risks of mass luxury marketing for true haute luxury maisons?
Yeah,
I don't think they use mass luxury. Do you? Do
we do
they?
talk about, in terms of, to me, the word luxury brand means that it's a hybrid, luxury and brand. It's a luxury name reaching down for mass marketing, because in luxury, in fact, the marketing is exactly the opposite of the 4 Ps that we all learned. Uh,
Yes.
the American system of 4 Ps of marketing. It's exactly the opposite. you don't go targeting and hunting anybody.
I
It's more
know.
like fishing. You attract them. So it's exactly the opposite technique. And when we talk about luxury brand, it's this hybrid of bottom up, top down. And I think, and it's only been around for this century actually. It's been very successful financially, but now we're seeing Gen Z and others being really upset that they bought a, for example, Vuitton bag, assuming that everything at Louis Vuitton is made by hand, only to discover, no, they've been naive. It's a luxury name on an industrially produced bag. They have special sewing machines with a deep stitch to make it look like it was made by hand. And I think it's slightly dishonest because Vuitton actually internally, they know what is Vuitton Maletier is really the special orders and the real luxury. But what you see with the logos is not. Now, when you come to Giorgio Armani, you don't have that problem. We know there's a difference between Giorgio Armani, Armani Privé, or Emporio Armani as you
Or
go
Emporio.
down,
Yeah.
AX Armani, Armani jeans. So no one's complaining and no one's confused. But I think it's when they have that hybrid, it can cause a problem. They even think that Chanel No. 5 or J'adore Dior are luxury perfumes because they're not. They're industrially
Which
produced and they
they're
carry
not.
just the name of a luxury house. So there's the
Exactly.
problem. We need brand architecture just to even segment. So you know the difference between, like in an airline, first class, business class, economy class. It's not the same. It's the same
No.
brand and you're
Yeah,
sitting
yeah.
in the same plane.
With the same brand but different product
Yeah,
levels, let's
yeah,
say. Very
yeah.
well put, very well put. Now let's talk about sustainability because
Hmm.
this is becoming a very important topic in luxury. It is reshaping many industries, sustainability,
Yeah.
and luxury is also embracing, I would say, in the last decade, embracing sustainability consistently. So,
Mhm.
how should haute luxury brands approach sustainability as an investment without compromising exclusivity or the emotional allure of luxury?
Yeah, that's another good one. A good question. I think that the Caring Group has done it very well in the sense that they do see it as an investment, and they're right. It is an investment. It's not a marketing claim because everyone will have to be sustainable. The whole
Yes.
world is moving that way. We're obliged to move that way because we made our planet sick, and we saw that in COVID. It has to kill us off to survive. So, and I think what Caring Group does very well is they've centralized that role of sustainability. They have a very good team of these engineers and biochemists and everything at the very top, serving all the houses so that the houses don't have to use terms like sustainable luxury. Because when
Yes.
you say sustainable luxury, A, it sounds like marketing,
It's
it's rational. You're taking
you,
away the dream. So
exactly.
sustainable luxury is not a word. You have to, you're luxury and you're
It's
making people
luxury,
dream.
period. And it
Yeah.
has
And
to
if
be
what people,
sustainable,
yeah, and
period.
if people want to check if you're sustainable, well, go and visit the website, go and look behind the scenes and see what's there because luxury has always been paying for the very best noble materials. They pay the staff really well. No one's complaining in those companies, but
Uh-huh.
maybe they haven't been conscious enough about waste and other things like that, which is disastrous when they've been burning bags that they haven't sold and the like. So yeah, they all have to go that way. But they may resist, for example, using some recycled materials. They're certainly going to resist using vegan materials, which often are really bad with some plastics or the
Yeah.
poly this and poly that. So I think that we're going to find, and the waste has to be, if it is recycled, it better be very good quality. So, but at least they're leading the way because they can afford to because it does cost a lot of money. So they were obliged to lead the way, and that we shouldn't be sitting and waiting for H&M to be doing that.
Of course. No,
So
no.
that's I think that's what's happening, but they just don't want to put the sustainable word up front. It's keeping delight above rationality.
I I couldn't agree more with you, Philip, on this. And if I may add this, and I truly agree that Caring is doing it very well. And what they did is they took sustainability to the strategic level.
Yes.
And not only they're doing it for all the maisons, but also they're working and weaving sustainability strategy and practices across the whole supply chain.
Yes.
And whoever wants to supply any of the brands at Kering Group, they need to comply with the sustainability plan designed by the team.
I think we could call them, there's a term that's coming up a lot these days, a conscious corporate brand, the
Exactly.
CCB.
Yes.
And I think that's a typical example, and that's where it should be. It should be because you can't have one of your houses is sustainable and the others are not. You know,
Of course.
it doesn't work like that. So
yeah.
it makes
And not
sense
just at the surface, it needs to go down deep to the
yes,
supply chain.
right through the whole spine.
Yes,
Yeah.
very nice. In your consulting experience, Philip, what are the most common challenges luxury leaders face when trying to balance immediate sales pressures with long-term brand identity? It's a difficult challenge
It's a
always.
huge challenge because sometimes the more you grow, and you know, if you're Apple, it's fine to grow like that, but you know,
Yeah.
a luxury brand does it. At some point, you see it everywhere, and the image just collapses, bang. So it's a little tightrope between that, and I think, you know, and Americans find it hard to understand. Hermes has been sued in America by
Mhm.
shareholders because they're holding back growth by not producing according to demand the Kelly bags and the Birkin bags. But
Yes.
but you know, if they did, then it becomes a fashion item and then it's out. It's in one day and out the next day. They're
That's the
obliged
luxury
to,
paradox.
yes, and so they have to keep their image up. And I think unfortunately Gucci fell into that trap. They
Yes.
used to be the biggest competitor to Hermes in leather goods. My goodness, it's like, wow, it's so hard to get there. Today, nobody sees it that way because they've moved away from being a craft brand to being ready to wear fashion brand
Mhm.
and sustaining their growth. I think with Tom Ford, they just grew into $1 billion company, and now they're obliged to kind of try to play both fields. And I think they're
Mhm.
going to get there. They'll be obliged to keep one division of their company as a lifestyle brand and start working again, emphasis on the 20% craft, high end part of the business to raise that image.
Mhm.
They don't have an option because, and stop the counterfeiting, it's everywhere. But they've fallen into the trap, which is such a shame because it is the Kering Group, but they've been having to chase the money. And once you chase the money, the
Mhm.
image collapses. And it really is a problem that they're facing today.
This is a true paradox and a permanent challenge. You have always to balance this. And yeah, and you're right. In some parts of the world, people do not get it and they don't understand that if you grow too much, then you're not luxury anymore. Then you are way too accessible.
I think they understand it also themselves if they when they find a niche perfume that they love and then they start to smell it on everyone, it's over. It's over. You know, and I think it's the same thing. Or when you see your car, it starts to be everywhere. Mercedes used to be special, and then you see that every second car is a taxi. Every Mercedes is a taxi. You don't want one anymore. It's
Exactly.
you can destroy it very
Yeah.
quickly.
Now, is there an example you could share of a luxury house that successfully navigated this brand DNA reconstruction and storytelling or renewal in order to bring the brand up there again
Yeah, well,
at
actually,
the peak of the
yeah,
pyramid?
the way we're talking about Tiffany being
Yes.
elevated, I hate that word because everyone uses it, but yeah,
Yeah.
pushing it upwards. I think the greatest brand that I've ever worked with and watched doing that is Virgin, where they started off
Ah,
as a mail order record company and
yes.
then record stores and then music stores. And then Sir Richard Branson decided to launch an airline and then finally space flights. Now that is extraordinary. And when I met him, it's so funny because I had a chance to meet him at his model agency party. I said, Richard, I'll make you rich and famous one day. He said, really, come and talk to me. I thought, yes. And he was so funny and so nice. And but I told him directly, I said, I think you're ruining your brand by going into cola and this and everything, and helped to write a little strategy for him that he could use to kind of build it. But he's done it
Mhm.
himself, and he'd never studied branding. He just felt it right, and he did what he wanted to do as an entrepreneur, and it
Ah,
just worked really well, and it's fantastic to a large extent. Most of what we see today are the sleeping beauty brands that had come back. So that's why, like, Chanel was almost dead. You know, the Chanel number 5 was all that was left, and the sales were dropping. The little old ladies who had been using it were dying off, and they had big problems. It was absolutely revived by Karl Lagerfeld, who insisted to the Wertheimers that he come back and at haute couture level, and then trickle down. And they said, of course, do what you want. So give him like $1 million for every collection. They gave him a free card to do it. And now you look at that brand today, it's beyond where she could have taken it herself. They're even moving into high watchmaking now. They've moved successfully into high jewelry. They'll probably go into high menswear soon. You know, it's exceptional what they've done with that brand. That Dior as well was nearly dead. Balenciaga was over. All these brands we know today, these so-called sleeping beauties, Balenciaga, when I met with them maybe about 8 years ago or something, I was saying, why aren't you going back into haute couture? And they said, well, because we've become a sneaker brand. How are we going to get out of that? I said, well, do like Nike says, just do it.
Exactly.
But I was just like fooling around. But I mean, that's what, how else? Just try. Because that's what I love about luxury. You don't go and research things, just do it. And they did. And I remember the press comments were amazing. So it was worth the 50-year wait, because Demna did such an incredible job of bringing back haute couture. You could feel all the codes of Balenciaga himself in that collection. It actually worked perfectly. I'm not too sure how they're doing today, but it was excellent. It was like the Schiaparelli comeback. It just really made its mark. And Schiaparelli, all these sleeping beauty brands. And I think it's also why then many investors prefer to go for sleeping beauties, because they were up there once upon a time. And it's kind of easier to go back to where you had been at the top than to try to climb up, as Zara is trying to do today, with designers trying to elevate to get up there. Much harder. You had Nescafe that did Nespresso. Now they've just opened here in Paris, Maison Nespresso, with to show that they're grinding some beans and to sell machines that can grind beans. But, you know, to be up there, they would have to have really roast the beans in front of you. And that's the high-end coffee. So it's very difficult. And I love playing with brands that do that, actually. It's a lot of fun. Yeah, it is.
Very interesting, Philip. Thank you. One last question, if I may. Brand architecture is central to your academic and consulting work. So how has the science and maybe I should say the art of brand architecture evolved to meet the needs of modern luxury?
You know, that's so great. I think the fact that I'm speaking of Maison so much has been very important. About 10 years ago, when I wrote for the Luxury Society, it was like my first book, I was putting that pyramid, the Maison, as the next stage from Atelier, because the traditional pyramids of luxury that we find online, or Capfra and all the rest of them, were going from art to luxury brand. It doesn't work like that. Some of them stop at Maison and others go to luxury brand. And I think we're seeing the rise of the Maison now, and that language being used to differentiate and to educate the world, to say, hold on a second, there's brand and there's Maison. And I think that didn't exist when I started on brand architecture. We had house brand, but you know, so I was using the term house brand, but in America, house brand meant private label supermarket breakfast cereal or something. It had nothing to do with
nothing to do with luxury.
Now we're seeing that word Maison coming more and more. We're seeing Van Cleef and Arpels, when they do exhibitions in China, they have in Chinese or the education of, we are Maison, we're not a brand. To also put a distance to Chow Tai Fook and those big Chinese jewelry companies and elevate themselves, if you like, or just distance themselves from the rest. And we're seeing that happening more and more now, that brands are being obliged, even Italian brands using the word Maison, because casa means that they're making home furnishings and so on. So that word, that French word, is becoming the word. And we also in French use the word griffe. It's like scratch, but it means like a signature brushstroke.
Yes.
You don't call, if you're not sure if it's a Maison or an atelier, you say a griffe, but you never say brand, because you're accusing them of industrial production. It's a very delicate thing. You know, the French have been very anti-industrialization, and that's why we kept our crafts. We could rebuild Notre Dame because they kept those crafts going.
The crafts,
Yeah,
exactly.
we lost those crafts around the world with the industrial revolutions. Why they don't have many in England or United States, and that the industrialization just killed, and even in China with the Cultural Revolution, they killed off a lot of those crafts. And the French held on to it. They killed off the kings, but they kept the crafts. That's the difference.
Exactly. Very interesting. Philip, thank you. Thank you so much for sharing your profound insights on haute luxury branding and what truly defines elite maison.
Thank you, Antonio.
For our listeners eager to connect, you can explore more about Philippe Mihaillovich's work on LinkedIn and follow his profile. And thank you so much again. And until next time.
We re-released the book on Amazon, actually. It's not, but it's been re-released because I didn't have time to do the second one, the follow-up. So if the pyramid is in there, if they want to look it up, it's on Amazon.
Thank you. Nice that you've mentioned that. So thank you so much again. And look for the book of Philippe Mihailovich and follow him on LinkedIn. So thank you for listening. And until next time.
Thank you.
Thank you. My pleasure. My pleasure too. Bye-bye now.